So we spoke a tad about the Minnesota Wild, and we know there are a lot of stories going on with this team. Firstly, it was the Jack Eichel talks, the fact that they're actually getting involved in these. It's a big deal because this is a new contender that is probably one of the better teams in these conversations, because let's be real here, the Wild are a pretty good team, and they've been trying to etch their way and escape out of that grasp of mediocrity that they've been within for so long. And who knows if an Eichel trade could be that push that really gets them above and beyond. We also had the news of the buyouts yesterday. Zach Parise, Ryan Suter, guys that were signed to extraordinarily long-term deals by Chuck Fletcher, getting bought out at the same time too. Really weird stuff over there. But when it comes to the longer-term amounts of money that they're going to have to be holding on to in buyout retention, I wanted to talk a little bit more about a different side of the Minnesota Wild and their financials. In particular, let's talk about Kirill Kaprizov, the guy who has been named the best rookie in the NHL for 2021. By now you know who Kaprizov is. If you've been living under a rock, you might not, but just for the little rundown, he was drafted in the 5th round of the 2015 NHL Entry Draft because we didn't really know if he was going to come over to the NHL. He was this guy in Russia that was doing pretty well in the KHL. Over time, he was fantastic in that league, was establishing himself as one of the best forwards outside the NHL at the World Juniors, World Championships, Olympic Games, etc. He finally made his way to the NHL this season, posting up 51 points in 55 games played, 27 goals too. An absolute breath of fresh air for the Minnesota Wild. But you gotta remember, he signed a contract technically in 2019-20. He was not able to participate in the bubble last year, though, for reasons, which was honestly kind of bad, because I think if the Minnesota Wild had Kirill Kaprizov when they played the Canucks in the play-in round, the Canucks might have been in trouble that series. I don't know, though. Either way, he played his rookie season, was fantastic, was the Calder winner, Rookie of the Year, had 3 points in 7 games in the postseason, but he does need a contract extension. It's a little bit different now than it was when they got him to his entry-level deal a year ago, because now he is an established NHL quality forward who is going to be a star. He's on pace to being that Panarin 2.0 kind of guy, and Artemi Panarin is one of the highest paid wingers in the entire NHL. So, for Kaprizov, you can expect a boatload of money for this guy. But it turns out, the Minnesota Wild might have already made themselves an offer that he has flat out refused. According to Michael Russo, who is a Minnesota Wild beat reporter for The Athletic, the Wild's Kirill Kaprizov has reportedly turned down a $9 million by 8-year contract. Whoa. The reports are saying that he wants a shorter-term deal for 4 or 5 years because he sees himself as a $10 to $11 million player in the future. Man, talk about betting on yourself, eh? You're getting a contract offer for 8 years long, $9 million a season, $72 million in the bank right now, and you're saying, nah, I think I can be better than that. I want to get a 4-5 year deal so I can get $10-11 million in the future. This is like Mitch Marner 2.0, Austin Matthews 2.0, and you know what? I'm going to go out there and say it right here. For a guy like Kirill Kaprizov, you still have to remember that he has only played 1 season in the NHL. Now, granted, there was so much that went right in the season in the NHL that it's really tough to believe that any future seasons would be worse than what he did. He's just going to get better, is he not? We spoke about the Artemi Panarin comparable. Panarin had similar numbers to Kaprizov, and he played with Patrick Kane on a stacked Blackhawks team. Kaprizov didn't really have a Kane to play with. So, what Kaprizov really is going to be for the Minnesota Wild is that Panarin, number 1 star, he is going to be the guy on that team. I know you have Marco Rossi, I know you have Kevin Fiala, I love those guys, but Kaprizov is the guy. So it does kind of make sense that he's looking for that range where it's like, okay, I'm going to get my money now, but by the time 2024, 2025, 2026 rolls around, I want to be in that same range as an Artemi Panarin, making $11 million as one of the top 2 paid wingers in the entire NHL. I said Marner and Matthews earlier on in the video, but it is kind of an inaccurate comparison, because Marner and Matthews, despite getting bridge deals, they still got that $10.5+ million mark, so good on you guys, I guess. For Kirill Kaprizov, though, isn't it just kind of funny how we see a guy rejecting a $9 million contract? Full credit to the Wild for going out there, trusting their instincts, and trying to get this guy on a long-term max contract. Because if you're so confident that this guy is going to be the guy, hey, you want to keep him around for as long as you want. And now with everything coming out about the Wild, okay, they've just bought out Suter and Parise, they have some extra money to spend. Oh, Kirill Kaprizov's out there in Russia, and CSKA Moscow is interested in signing him. It adds so much leverage to the contract negotiations that he is having with the Wild. I said it before in that CSKA video, I'll say it here again. I don't think Kaprizov is leaving. He's gonna stick around. The entire reason of mentioning him even being in Russia and CSKA wanting to sign this guy, I think it's mostly just going to be used as a negotiation tactic, because at face value, a lot of that stuff isn't really all too surprising. Okay, he's in Russia because his friend's getting married. I can understand why you're in Russia for that. CSKA Moscow wants to sign a talented player who doesn't have a contract for 2021. Of course they would want to do that. Who wouldn't? So all the stuff combined just makes for a really interesting conversation to have about Kirill Kaprizov and what his next contract is going to be. Because I'll tell you this right here, if it was anybody else in the NHL going out there, let's say in a Canadian market, he gets extended for $9 million per year for 8 years, and he rejects that kind of offer extension, bro, Canadian media is going to be all over that. Because it's Kaprizov on the Wild, who knows how well discussed this topic is going to be amongst Canadian television and radio and all that, but I think this is a really big deal, because as we said, this guy could be that second coming of Artemi Panarin, maybe even better, because I mean, Panarin is already a Hart candidate in the NHL. Kaprizov, he's kind of gonna be in that same territory. And you know what's even more funnier to me, talking about Kirill Kaprizov, is the fact that he was taken in 2015. He's in the same range as Eichel, McDavid, Aho, Rantanen, Besser, Connor, Shabbat. All these fantastic names taken in the 2015 NHL Entry Draft in the first round, in the second round, in the fifth round too with Kaprizov. Things are all over the place for that draft year, and with guys like McDavid and Eichel and Besser and now Kaprizov just getting better year after year, this could be one of the best draft classes we have seen in a very long time, if not ever, for this generation at the very least, because man, Kirill Kaprizov being taken 5th round is a travesty at this point. It's just the context behind it is why he is even in that position. It's like, you know, if you do a redraft of 2015, sure, Kaprizov's a top 30 pick, absolutely. He's maybe even top 10. It's just, is his entire status of being in the KHL for as long as he was a big enough deterrent to say, man, he's really good, but I mean, we had to wait till he was 24, 6 years after the draft to actually see him suit up in the NHL. Things would have been a lot different had they just allowed him to play in the bubble, but that's a completely other conversation for another day. Talk to me in the comments, though, what you think about Kaprizov reportedly rejecting a $9 million AAV contract for 8 years. Do you think it's right for him to go ahead and reject that? If you were him, would you want to take that risk? Or do you think it would have been better to just bite the bullet and just say, man, I'm going to get paid $72 million over the span of the next 8 years. I'm set for life. Or are you of the belief that, hey, you have to try to maximize every dollar you can get? If you really think you're going to go out there, become a better player by the time you're 27, 28, 29 years old, hey, try to capitalize on that. Talk to me in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. Rolls 99. And bye.